The story began with the popular students at school making their cliched walk through the hallways as everyone gossiped about them. Susan was the student council president, a superstar, and her sidekick, a certified nerd named Kazuki, was the vice president. Some people were naturally the center of attention, but the average, ordinary protagonist did not consider himself one of them. His name was Usato, and this self-hating guy thought of himself as a forgettable, run-of-the-mill high school student. The most exciting adventure in his vanilla life was returning some baby pigeons to their nest. Deep down, however, Usato always hoped for an extraordinary life. As the protagonist of this story, his luck was about to change. It was raining, and Usato did not have an umbrella. His evil side showed itself for a second as he contemplated taking someone else's, but this typical good guy decided against it, fearing the beginning of a life of crime over a cheap umbrella. This proved to be a stupid decision as he ended up waiting for hours. Suddenly, Susan appeared and explained that all students were required to leave. Feeling particularly forgettable, Usato decided to just run home in the rain, but Susan stopped him. She stated it would look bad for the student council to watch him get soaked like a loser. Kazuki then arrived and lent him a spare umbrella. Usato was certain that Kazuki did not even know of his existence and was even more surprised when Kazuki seemed to be a nice guy. They offered to walk home together. Susan pointed out that it must be fate that they met. Usato's nerdy mind went to video games, thinking of this moment as suddenly hitting a walking home with two popular kids event. He almost ruined the moment by saying everyone in school would be jealous, but luckily they did not hear his embarrassing comment. On their walk, Usato told Kazuki that he did not expect him to be so nice because he only ever saw him charming the ladies. Kazuki explained he only talked to girls out of pity, and Susan roasted him by saying he liked talking to boys better anyway. Susan was even more unapproachable for the shy protagonist, as she was top of her class in all subjects and great at sports. Usato praised her further, pointing out she was beautiful inside and out. Finally, Usato, acting like a gossip reporter, asked if they were dating since everyone at school talked about it. The walk became awkward, but they explained they only spent so much time together because of the student council. Usato apologized for the stupid question, but Susan did not mind, saying it was better than talking behind their backs. Their boring conversation continued as the three talked about their post-graduation plans. None of them had a plan yet. Susan, already a third year, revealed her huge problem: she still had not found what she wanted to do, as she immediately completed any goal she set, seemingly foreshadowing future events. She explained she felt like she did not belong in this world. Usato was shocked. They were opposite people, but he understood that feeling. Their boring conversation was interrupted when Susan and Kazuki heard bells ringing. The ringing grew louder, but Usato did not hear a thing. As Usato approached them, a magic circle appeared on the ground. He wondered if it was a gate to another world. Instead of being terrified, Susan looked excited, wondering if they would find magic, monsters, and heroes. Usato was shocked she was into that stuff, but time was up, and they were taken away. Usato eventually woke up and found they were sitting before a king. The boys were rightfully terrified and cautious, but something was wrong with Susan's brain, as she only felt excitement. The king, who had the basic name Lloyd, introduced himself. Kazuki wanted to skip introductions and demanded to know why they were brought there. Lloyd kept his hot-headed guard from attacking Kazuki and revealed he was the king, a painfully obvious fact. The kids were still shocked except for Susan, who was having the time of her life. Lloyd revealed they were summoned to be heroes, making Susan's dreams come true. He explained that 2 years ago, this world was attacked by the Demon King and his army. They drove them off, but the Demon Lord's power had been growing. As a last resort, they called forth accomplished individuals from another world using a forbidden ritual known as hero summoning. Usato tried to remind the excited Susan they were having a serious conversation. Kazuki went crazy, stating he did not care about heroes or demon lords and was furious they were summoned without consent. He refused to be an isekai protagonist and demanded to be sent back. Unfortunately, the hero summoning only worked in one direction. Kazuki still wanted to return to charming ladies back home, but the king apologized, saying they were desperate for help. Kazuki's whining pushed the guards to finally quiet him down by threatening his existence. Usato calmed the hothead down, and the king shockingly bowed before them. He promised to find a way back eventually but begged for their help in the meantime. Susan finally stopped fangirling and wondered why the king called them heroes without knowing anything about them. A little dork named Wedgie explained that the hero summoning was designed to select accomplished individuals, and hearing the bells indicated they were heroes. This was bad news for Usato, as he was the only one who had not heard the ringing, and he wondered if he was brought by accident. Wedgie took them to a crystal ball that measured magical abilities. Kazuki wondered if Usato was okay with this, but Usato was fine since Wedgie told him he might still use magic even if he was not a hero. Kazuki thought he should be more upset, but Usato pointed out they should try to be like the excited Susan. Susan was tested first. The crystal indicated her affinity for thunder magic and a ton of mana, making her ecstatic. It was then Kazuki's turn. He barely touched the crystal, and Wedgie was amazed when it turned white, indicating rare light magic. Susan was certain it meant he could shoot laser beams or make swords of light. Usato pointed out Kazuki was not a weeb like her, but she scolded him for having a sharp tongue. Susan realized she liked his tongue that way, ruining Usato's perfect image of her. Wedgie explained that light magic was incredibly rare and its power was unparalleled against demons. The bar had been set high, and now it was the protagonist's turn. Usato hoped he would have at least the tiniest bit of power, as this humble kid just hoped to help Susan and Kazuki any way he could. He was glad when his crystal actually changed to a soothing color. Everyone was pleased, but a look at Wedgie painted a totally different picture, as she was shocked by the color change and instantly dragged Usato away. Wedgie urgently took Usato to the king. She explained the other two had great abilities, but she was there about something more important. The king joked about Usato having an affinity for dark magic, but he was shut up when Wedgie revealed the crystal ball had turned green. The guards were shocked. Wedgie began to explain what that meant, but King Lloyd stopped her, not wanting her to utter those words. Usato wondered if his magic affinity was really that bad. The king quickly demanded that Usato be taken away from the castle as quickly as possible. They tried to think of the safest place to send him. Usato wondered if he was really that dangerous and asked if anyone else had the same magic. It turned out there was another person, a certain girl, but the king did not even want her name spoken. Unfortunately for the cowardly king, this girl barged in. Everyone was terrified beyond belief as they found out her name was Rose. She wanted to know if the heroes had been summoned. The king had hoped she took the day off, but Rose would never do such a thing. She questioned if Usato was a hero, but King Lloyd explained he was just some nerd teleported there by accident, desperately trying to hide the truth and claiming Usato was super ordinary. Rose introduced herself to Usato as a captain of the kingdom's rescue team, but he felt this angry chick was more like the type to take lives, not save them. Wedgie diffused the situation and offered to take Rose to the real heroes in the crystal room. Unfortunately, Usato was an idiot who could not read the room and asked the king what his green crystal meant. Rose was still within hearing distance, so everyone was terrified. Usato confirmed his ball was green, and Rose told the king she would be borrowing the boy. The king acted quickly, urgently telling Wedgie to get Usato away from her. Wedgie used bubble magic to whisk him away, but Rose instantly took off after him. Wedgie sent the non-hero sky high, but Rose caught him almost immediately. She was crazy powerful, destroying the bubble and rapidly capturing him. Everyone was left with their mouths open in shock. Rose told the king she would turn the boy into a full-fledged healing magic user. Wedgie fainted, and the king begged Rose to stop. He knew she had been searching for other healing magic users but tried to explain Usato was dragged in by accident. His useless words were ignored as the two were already gone. Back in the castle, Usato's useless new friends had done nothing but were shocked to hear he was taken away. Wedgie explained that his life would not be ended, but it was still really bad news. He was taken to the rescue team base just beyond the castle town. Healing magic users were extremely rare, and the crazy lady who took him was one of them. She intended to train Usato as her subordinate no matter what. No matter how hard Susan used her brain, she could not see the problem. Luckily, Wedgie explained it like she was a toddler, revealing that Rose's training methods were extremely unorthodox. At her base, Rose explained that Usato only had the potential to become a healing magic user, which was why she brought him there. This would be his home. She called on her boys. Usato was terrified by these extreme dudes. Rose told them they would be looking after him and to play nice, but these guys looked like lunatics as they introduced themselves. Usato feared the worst, wondering if he was actually some kind of offering being sacrificed to these monsters. Rose told them not to scare Usato, but she was the most terrifying of all. The boys tried to explain this was them being nice, but Usato did not think these brutes knew what that meant. Rose explained that while these meatheads were her subordinates, they were not healing magic users. There were 2 other healers on the team, but they usually worked elsewhere. It was time to get to business. Rose explained that she would beat the knowledge of how to use healing magic deep into his tiny brain. Usato seemed in a permanent state of disbelief, every fiber of his being telling him to stay away from this insane person. He used his Sunday morning church voice to ask if he could learn from another teacher, but Rose ignored the nerd and said training started tomorrow. She told a brute named Tong to let Usato stay in his room and instructed them to eat dinner before resting. The guys hit Usato with the brutal reality when she left, he was screwed. Rose would be training him herself and was going to put him through hell. They said hell might be the least of his worries and had a good laugh at the non-hero's expense. That night, Usato wondered what would happen to him, but he finally showed a bit of optimism, certain things would be okay. However, he might be wrong, as not even Rose knew what would happen. When Usato woke up, he hoped it was all a dream. Unfortunately, it was not, and he really was in another world. Susan and Kazuki arrived to visit him, having heard he was abducted. Usato told them not to worry, but he had PTSD from the day before and got depressed when he remembered the training from hell would start that day. He was determined to go through with it since he wanted to make himself useful. Susan explained they would begin their training as well, and they all decided to do their best. When they left, Usato felt bad for them being thrown into the situation but quickly remembered Susan was having the time of her life regardless. He just hoped to grow strong enough to support the 2 heroes one day. Miss Rose startled him, pointing out this was not a prison and he could see whoever he wished, but only when he was not training. She gave him a journal to record his daily training regimen and feelings. They would have breakfast first, and Usato could not believe the training from hell was really starting. After breakfast, training began. Usato did not think it was actually that bad at first. Rose just had him feel the mana in his body and draw it out. For now, he needed to perfect sensing it, so she had him do some reading. Usato was shocked to see he could read the language of the world. Summoned heroes automatically had translation magic cast on them. Rose showed how close the demon territory was to the kingdom, explaining why they were always the first target. The book had information about demons and other races, so she left him to study. The first day seemed quite easy, so he was sure he could handle it. Day 2 of training was much more different than he expected. It was a lot of running. On day 3, Usato was forced to run until his muscles were so sore he could not move. He eventually collapsed, but Rose wondered what he thought he was doing. Usato explained his legs would not move anymore, but she gave him a good smack, and he was shocked to realize she healed his sore muscles. Rose kept the intensity up, calling him trash and commanding him to continue running. She told him to run like he was going to die, and she would revive him so he could keep running. Usato knew he could not tell her how crazy she sounded, so he planned to write it in his journal. On day 4, Usato began training with the other members but fell behind by an entire lap. Everyone trash-talked him, but he could not talk back, so he decided to write it in his journal. Days 5 and 6 were more running with Rose berating him. His anger was building, and he once again planned to give Rose hell in his journal. Just then, he was shocked to see the light of healing magic on his hand. The training was tough, but not enough to need healing, so it went away. On day 7, Usato ran until he thought he would die again, and Rose beat him up. She seemed angrier than usual. Usato wondered if she found out he was dissing her in his journal. He realized she could not read Japanese and wondered if she could tell by the look on his face. Rose launched him into the sky so he could start running again, and Usato vowed to call her a vicious gorilla in his journal. Day 8 was more of the same. But on day 9, Usato realized he could heal himself and was surprised to see he managed to heal his entire body instead of just the part that hurt. He realized he was wrong about healing magic, he really did need it. On day 10, Usato explained he did not get tired anymore no matter how much he ran since he could now manifest healing magic on command. He eventually got concerned, however, as all he had been doing was running. He questioned if he would be able to help his friends at this rate but knew Rose would just punch him if he voiced his concerns. Rose was upset anyway and gave him another 30 laps to run. Usato decided in his mind to no longer call her Miss Rose, as she did not deserve it. On day 11, the training regimen got a new addition, push-ups. Usato got all the way up into the 800s. Rose finally revealed why he was training this way, so he could run from his enemies as quickly as possible in battle to save injured allies. The faster he ran, the faster he could save them. On day 12, he ran until noon and then did push-ups into the night. On day 13, Rose caught on that Usato was starting to feel lighter, so she added weights. On day 14, Usato's lunch went missing, and one of the meatheads admitted to eating it. Usato lost his cool and finally struck back. He had already gotten used to the weights and was finally starting to get the hang of training. A week later, his friends came to visit and were shocked to see how much he had changed in such a short time. The kid was doing intense push-ups, and Rose was telling him not to whine about doing something so easy. Usato did not whine one bit and even said doing push-ups with her on his back was easy because she was so light. Rose was amused by his retort and tossed another stone on his back. Usato was extremely determined, so his body healed, and he completed the push-up. Rose was pleased with his progress, determining she could take him to a certain place sooner than she thought. Susan was amazed with Usato's newly developed muscles, and Kazuki acknowledged how brutal the training was. Some dude named Siglas was furious with Rose, thinking she was destroying Usato. Rose told him she did things much differently than the knights did, she was turning Usato into her right-hand man. She needed him to train hard since it would be a problem if he could not even handle this. Usato was surprised to hear she wanted him as her right-hand man. She explained it was because he just could not stand to lose, never gave up, and had been able to survive her training. Usato realized his desire to teach her a lesson had backfired in the worst way. Rose told him to take a break. The friends were told to go with a woman named Celia to relax. Siglas told Rose he was ordered to re-enlist her but refused to do it now. Rose said it did not matter anyway since her right eye was totally useless. At their lunch break, Usato learned that Siglas commanded the kingdom's army, he was the strongest knight and was teaching his friends how to sword fight. Usato just now realized Celia was the princess and apologized for behaving so casually. They enjoyed some kind of pie, and Kazuki wondered if Usato really did that type of training every day. Usato told him today was different but only because it was easier. Kazuki explained their training was going well but was not nearly as tough as Usato's. Susan had lost her mind as she interrupted their conversation to look at Usato's muscles. The dude was seriously shredded now. Kazuki settled things down by asking if the training was not too tough. Usato admitted it was extremely tough and he wanted to run away at first. Rose was just as scary as ever, but he did not want to run anymore. The training was actually starting to get fun, and he realized life there was not that bad. His friends thought he was amazing, but he just explained that what he was stubborn. The two of them would have to fight one day, so he wanted to be able to support them. They all joked about how Susan was a weirdo. The big guy who ate Usato's lunch had made a meal to replace it. Usato clearly still had a grudge, as he began to talk just like the other meatheads, and they began to argue. Usato was a real hothead now as the argument quickly turned into a fight. The big guy promised to knock him out. Usato would like to see him try, and they both started throwing hands. Celia wondered if it was okay to just watch, and Kazuki told her it was fine since this seemed part of Usato's daily life now. Usato had clearly acclimated very quickly. Kazuki decided he needed to go back to training so he did not get left behind. Susan prepared to go as well but realized all three of them must have been brought to this world for a reason. That night, Usato enjoyed a bath and thought about how he needed to control his wit better so Susan did not lose her composure again. He realized she was right, his body had changed dramatically. He had been healing his muscles over and over after damaging them from strenuous exercise. The result was that he had gotten shredded. However, his job would be to rescue people on the battlefield, and he questioned if he had the mental fortitude to match the body he had built. The next morning, Rose informed Usato they would be going out. The other guy seemed worried that this day had come. A guard at the gate nearly wet himself as Rose informed him she wanted to show her subordinate the outside world. He ran off to open the gate for her. Usato thought about how all she had to do was stand there to scare someone. Outside the gate, Usato wanted to know where they were going, but Rose told him to keep his mouth shut and follow her. They eventually arrived at a forest known as the Darkness of Linga, infamous for being filled with monsters. She shockingly told Usato not to come back until he had hunted down a grand grizzly. Usato thought there was a misunderstanding, reminding her that blue grizzlies only turned into grand grizzlies after living for 100 years. The book he read even said just the blue grizzlies were extremely dangerous. Rose explained he should be able to take one down easily, but Usato pointed out he had only been running and had no idea how to fight. Rose did not give a single word of explanation, though, and just launched him towards the forest. Usato began to fall from the sky and panicked, sure he would not survive. However, just then, his body began to glow with his healing magic. He found the determination inside himself to survive no matter what, using his healing magic to brace himself for the impact. He could not believe he survived. He healed himself so he could do what Rose told him. He would not be able to go back until he did. He tried to have a good attitude, convincing himself it should not be too hard since it was only a 2-meter-tall bear. He was stunned when it appeared behind him. The thing was way bigger than he thought, and its claws were huge. Usato got a bit confident that the bear would not be able to keep up with his speed but quickly found out that it could. He reminded himself he managed to survive the training from hell a bit and noticed the bear seemed injured. Usato healed the thing up, acting like a bunny whisperer as he told it to be more careful. He continued the hunt, but a bunny followed him. He tried to explain he was searching for a dangerous monster so it should leave, but the dumb little bunny did not listen. The thing just would not leave him alone, so he began to wonder if the rabbit was trying to show him where the grand grizzly was. Usato followed the little guy, and it led him right to the bears. He planned to monitor them without being discovered and noticed they seemed to be a family. He took a break to get some unclean water he was skeptical of and was shocked to see the bunny still had not left. He went back to continue monitoring and began to think the blue grizzlies were kind of cute. His bunny friend was pretty adorable, too, so he began to think life in the forest was pretty good. That feeling would not last long, however. The water he drank had a severe effect on his stomach. His healing magic was taking forever to make him feel better, so he determined he was basically poisoned. A day later, his trusty bunny friend showed him where some clean water was, and it was delicious. There was something wrong with Bugs Bunny, though it seemed to be because a monster was approaching. The little bunny was not even scared of the grand grizzly, so whatever was approaching must be really dangerous. A noise was heard in the darkness, and Usato was shocked when a giant snake appeared. He was terrified by this unbelievable monster and pointed out there was nothing like it in the book he read. Even without knowing anything about it, Usato could tell it was dangerous, and bloodlust oozed from every inch of it. When it left, he could finally breathe again and decided to make it a priority to avoid that thing. For more days passed, but Usato could not shake an uneasy feeling. He had been observing the bears, but nothing had changed. He could not go home without defeating the grand grizzly. He had to do it eventually, so he told himself he would do it tomorrow. The next day came, but the little rabbit did not want him to go. Usato gave in and decided to stay, but only until the rain stopped. When it ended, Usato began his mission and refused to be stopped by the bunny. He readied himself for battle but was absolutely stunned when he found that the lives of the bears had already been taken. The bite marks made it clear the snake did it, but it did not do it to eat, it took their lives for fun. A poor cub emerged from some rubble and tried to wake its mom up. Usato thought about how much he hated losing, especially to Rose. On top of that, he hated that his prey was stolen. As the little bear cried in agony, Usato stated that what he hated worst of all was what he was looking at right now. He told the cub to wait right there and vowed to get revenge for it. Usato's friends went to visit him but were shocked to hear he had been training in the forest for 10 straight days. They thought that seemed a bit too long to be training out there. The guys explained that Rose made all the decisions. Rose was not there, though, so these useless guys had no clue what was going on. Kazuki was really worried about Usato, but Susan thought he should be fine since Rose would not have sent him unless he was ready. On top of that, Susan believed in Usato and was sure he would be back soon. Back in the forest, Usato fueled his body with some snacks and made a spear. He asked his little bunny to take him to the snake but instructed it to run away right after. The bunny took him on a long journey through the forest, and the two finally found the snake. Unfortunately, it was attacking the little cub. Usato was upset since he told it to stay home. The snake was absolutely terrifying to look at, but Usato insisted there was nothing scarier than Rose. He thought the snake looked confused when he began his attack, but it was not, and it almost ate him. Usato countered with a stab to its eye, but he got knocked back and had to heal himself. He managed to blind it on one side, so he determined that was the side he would have to attack from. The snake was insanely dangerous, though, and it quickly managed to bite down on his arm. Usato was in immense pain and shocked to realize the snake baited him into attacking its blind spot. He was furious to have been tricked but revealed the arm it bit was holding his knife. He managed to heal his arm enough so it could move and stabbed the snake from inside its mouth. Usato was somehow managing to hold his own, but things took a real bad turn as he realized he had been poisoned. It was a seriously unfair fight as the snake was both huge and poisonous, but Usato had the advantage of being able to heal himself. Getting poisoned by the water forced him to learn how to heal himself from the inside out. He did just that and prepared to attack again. The snake was about to end his life with one tail swing, but the little cub stepped in to help. These two had great teamwork right off the bat as the bear let Usato jump off its back so he could get on top of the snake. Usato used foul language to call the snake stupid and somehow managed to land an insanely powerful punch. He was determined to end the battle right now, so he jammed his spear further into the snake's head, yelling as he gave it everything he had. The little bear helped by pinning the snake down. The snake was eventually defeated, and Usato could not believe they actually did it. The bear seemed to have taken a liking to him, and he pointed out how they got their revenge. He would like to heal the little cub, but he was using up all his mana to neutralize the venom in his body and could not even move. That was really bad news, though, as he was shocked when the snake got back up. Usato could not even move an inch, so the little cub tried to help him, but he just told it to run away. The snake moved in to end his life. He thought about all the people in his life and determined this entire situation was all Rose's fault. He yelled out that she was a violent ogre. Just then, this violent ogre descended from the sky and shockingly stomped right on the snake. Her angry attitude caused her to call the snake an idiot. Usato wondered how she knew to come help him. Rose revealed that the bunny, named Kakuro, told her. Kakuro was her pet, and she told it to watch over Usato. He explained the rabbit showed up injured and looking for help, but Rose just pointed out he was a sucker. Kakuro put on an act to gain his trust, and he fell for it. Rose was always nearby in case she needed to step in but planned to intervene as little as possible. However, she never thought the giant snake would appear. This snake was created by the Demon Lord's army, and Siglas failed to finish it off during the last invasion. She never thought it would be able to defeat a Grand Grizzly, though, since they were strong enough to defeat a full unit of elite troops. Usato could not believe she wanted a rookie like him to take one out and thought about how much of a monster she was. Rose explained she actually never expected Usato to win, though the goal was for him to gain experience fighting something much stronger than him. Things started to get interesting with Usato, though, so she decided to let him keep going to see what would happen. Usato was quick to point out he almost lost his life, and his little cub backed him up. It had clearly taken a liking to him. When Usato remembered its parents were not alive anymore, so it was all alone, he got his new buddy to calm down. Rose realized she was right. Usato was a lot like her. She angrily informed the bear it would be coming with them and would carry the loser that could not even lose his life properly. Usato wondered if the cub was really okay with everything, but this was one mature bear, as it was ready to go. They prepared to head back, but Usato could not help but think how terrifying Rose was as she carried him and the bear over her shoulder. Rose revealed she heard what he said about her being an ogre and then terrified him, explaining he would not be getting any sleep tonight. They headed home, and Rose revealed Usato actually passed the test with flying colors. He was surprised to hear he was now qualified for something. Rose explained he was now qualified to stand beside her on the battlefield. He still had not mastered the basics, but he definitely had what it took: the ability to withstand pain, physical aptitude, and a strong mental state. The other two healers never earned that distinction, so she told Usato he should be proud. He wondered what she meant when she said they might be able to make it and was shocked when Rose revealed the demon army would be attacking soon. Elsewhere, the demon lord wondered how preparations were going for the invasion of the Linga kingdom. Amila, the commander of the Third Army, reported that their units had finished preparing and would soon advance. Rose revealed that Usato would be on the front lines with her, healing the wounded as part of the vanguard. There were two other healers, but they played a different role. Usato was certain he could not use healing magic the way she could, but Rose pointed out they still had a little more time. She wanted him to improve before then, and Usato wondered if he could really do it. Back with the Demon Lord, he explained he would have Amila lead the army. Despite previous success, the Linga kingdom had managed to escape their grasp before the war. Amila vowed to do her best to win the battle and was dismissed. Just then, the demon doctor mocked Amila for being nervous in front of the Demon Lord. Amila hated this nerd and told him to focus on his work. His name was Holuk, and he revealed he just completed the newest Demonade monster prototype. It was highly venomous and had a large body with sharp fangs. He called it Demonade Monster Prototype 72, Balak. Holuk's last prototype went missing the last time they attacked the Linga kingdom. It ran away after being wounded by the enemy known as Siglus. Holuk promised this prototype was way stronger. Amila hoped so, since there were people far more troublesome than Siglus in the Linga kingdom. They referred to these people as kidnappers, those who stood on the battlefield but did not fight. They carried the injured away without the enemy even realizing it and minimized their own casualties by doing so. Their boss was a healer who ran all over the front lines healing people on the spot. This was Rose. Amila was infuriated by her because Rose was a top-notch fighter and held a deep grudge against the Demon Lord. Amila vowed to eliminate her, but Holuk pointed out she could not go into battle herself this time since she was now the commander. She was well aware, so that was why she planned to send a certain demon, the immortal mage of darkness, the Black Knight. Back home, Usato finally got to enjoy the comforts of a bed again. He went to feed his little bear buddy some fruit and snacked on some himself. The little cub was kind of a jerk as it took his apple. Usato found that the traitor rabbit was there as well. This rabbit had toyed with his pure and innocent heart, so he stopped himself from thinking about how cute it was. He eventually gave in to its adorableness, though, and fed it some fruit. Rose arrived and was amused to hear Usato named the bear Blurring Blue, blue for its color, ring from the word grizzly. This kid was a total mess as he thought the name was a good one. Blur accidentally chomped on his hand. Rose informed the kingdom about the bear so they had been allowed to keep it. She would allow it to stay but informed Blur it would have to earn its keep. Blur was terrified of her, just like everyone else. Usato wondered what she would have him do. Moments later, they saw what she had planned as Usato was carrying Blur. This would be his simulation training, and Usato was to think of the bear as someone who needed to be rescued. Rose had him start running, but it was a breeze for him. It was basically just running with a bit more weight, so as long as he managed his mana, he would be fine. Rose demanded he run faster since the wounded would not last if he took too long. Just then, Tong appeared out of nowhere, and so did another one of the meatheads. They chased after him and revealed Rose told them to simulate the battlefield. The others were waiting to ambush him as well, so they told Usato to stay focused. 1 hour later, Usato was dodging one of the meathead's special stink water and avoiding the attacks of some other guy. 3 hours later, he was hopping over logs. 4 hours later, he was avoiding stomping all over the traitor. Eventually, Usato started feeling strange and wondered what was happening to him. He collapsed. Rose explained he was at his limit of endurance. On the battlefield, humans felt exhaustion from nervousness, fear, and impatience. That was why he ran out of strength faster than normal. To get better, all he could do was get used to it, acquire the mental fortitude and decisiveness that never faltered in the face of fear. Rose healed him but told him to spend the rest of the afternoon running around the castle town. Usato was shocked to have to do more, and Rose reminded him to carry Blur as he ran. Everyone was shocked to see a blue bear. Usato expected this since, even though Blur was friendly, he was still a monster. The people seemed to realize something, though, and became eerily calm. Blur led Usato to some fresh fruit, but he did not have money. He learned this green fruit was called a pea and asked the merchant why everyone was so calm when he was carrying a monster on his back. She revealed it was because they knew Usato was on the rescue team because of his clothes. They saw scary-looking men from the rescue team all the time, so they had gotten used to it. This made a lot of sense now since if those goons' faces did not scare them, then nothing would. The nice lady let them have a pea for free, and Usato shoved it in Blur's mouth. When they left, some girl named Amo showed interest in the boy from the rescue team. Usato decided to go visit his friends and did not notice when some guy tried to get his attention. He eventually figured it out and had to heal the guy. This guy's name was Augur, and he revealed he was one of the rescue team's healers. Augur was surprised to learn Usato was summoned with the heroes. Usato explained he had been so busy training he almost forgot. Augur was impressed he could keep up with Rose's training since it was impossible for him and his sister. His sister was the other healer and was 5 years younger than him. They ran a clinic in the city and used healing magic to heal the citizens. Augur collapsed earlier because he was terrible at healing himself and much better at healing others. They were still part of the rescue team, though, so they worked under Captain Rose in times of need. Usato wondered what war would be like for them, so Augur explained that Tong and the others brought the injured soldiers to the rear, where he and his sister healed them. Augur was shocked when Usato told him Rose wanted him on the vanguard. Usato wondered if he could really handle that. Augur explained that the knights and heroes who fought on the front lines were in the greatest danger. If they fell injured and got left behind, normally all they could do was wait for death. However, having a rescue team allowed them to be saved. The job was dangerous and exhausting, but Rose would not choose someone she did not completely trust. Before Augur left, he asked Usato not to hate Rose too much. He knew she was not the nicest person, but it was more like she was just clumsy with people. Usato surprised him, though, by revealing he had never hated Rose, even if he did have unresolved issues with her. When Usato left, Augur expressed relief that Rose had finally found someone. Augur's sister, Yuru, arrived, and he told her he just met someone interesting. They would meet each other soon enough, and he was sure Yuru would like him. At the castle, Usato was allowed to enter with blurring because Rose vouched for him. He thanked the guard and thought about how a lot of people seemed to trust Rose. He ran past a bunch of people training and found Susan. She was glad to see him but wondered what the blue thing was on his back. Usato told her about his forest adventure, but she just wanted to know if she could touch the bear. He let her and promised to heal her if she got bitten. Susan considered herself the heir of their little story, so she was certain animals were supposed to love her. She was very wrong, however, as Blur hilariously slapped her hand away. That night, Rose was glad to hear that Usato's training was going well, but he explained he still needed to run more to get used to it. He stopped her from leaving as he wanted to talk about what she said earlier. He pointed out he barely survived against the snake monster, so he was terrified when she mentioned the Demon Lord's army. He did not want to set foot on the battlefield, but today he found a feeling even stronger than fear. He realized now that he could fight. He refused to take any lives, he vowed to save anyone he could and declared it was because he was part of the rescue team. That was exactly what Rose wanted to hear since they were going out there to save people. His job was to snatch up the wounded that the enemy was about to finish off and keep those at death's door alive, even if it meant risking his life. Rose wanted him to keep spitting up those ideals since that was how the rescue team must be. This was the first moment Usato actually felt like he was part of the rescue team. The next morning, Rose revealed the king had sent a message. He wanted Usato to head out to join Susan's training outside the castle. Usato was surprised, but Susan could not have been more ready. He wondered why he had to join Susan and pointed out Kazuki had Siglus with him. Rose explained he was supposed to join Kazuki as well, but he just got back from the forest. She assured him he would only be there in case they needed a healer and should be back home in 3 days. Susan was glad to see Usato but even more excited to have Blur join them. She assumed he brought the bear so they could learn to bond, but that was not the case. Usato only brought him because Blur did not like anyone else. Susan then introduced him to Aruku the knight and Korin the mage. Usato recognized Aruku. It turned out he used to just be a measly side character that stood watch at the castle gate. Rose explained to Susan that Usato's healing magic was not omnipotent. It could heal wounds and cure poison but could not bring people back from the dead. She told them not to take it for granted, and Susan completely understood. Rose was certain they would be fine since Susan was trained by Siglus. She had nothing to say to Usato. He knew she would not have anything nice to say anyway, so she left them be. Susan could tell Rose was really strong, but Usato did not know what she meant. She just let it go, though, and they set out to begin training. Back at the castle, Celia was worried when she saw Kazuki practicing his sword strikes. She pointed out he just got back from training, but he assured her he got a lot of rest. The shy Celia was glad but asked him to take care of himself, and she left. Susan told Usato about how exhausted Kazuki was after training, but Kazuki said the experience was definitely worth it. He battled a ton of monsters in the clearing by the darkness of Linga, and that was exactly what they would be doing as well. Usato just got back from there and wondered if Blur missed home. Susan wanted to take advantage of the fact that Blur was asleep by petting him, but Usato watched out for his boy. Susan did not like how he was talking down to her and pushing her back, so she wondered if he had become some kind of misogynist. Blur finally woke up but was clearly still pretty drowsy as he tried to walk. The genius Susan took any chance she could get close to Blur, so she offered to carry him on her back. Usato thought that was a terrible idea, but Susan loved how fluffy Blur was. Her joy was short-lived, however, as her body collapsed under the weight of the big cub. After Usato healed her, Korin detected multiple entities ahead of them. Aruku told the others to get back, and some bandits appeared, disappointed to have been found. They were planning an ambush, so they decided to try and rob the group. Aruku refused to give up any goods, but the bandits pointed out they were way outnumbered. Usato took one look at the sorry bunch and thought about how they were not intimidating at all. He assured Susan they were not a threat, but she was just amazed to see bandits for the first time. The guys were terrified to see a blue bear but realized it was just a cub. These horrible guys decided to catch it and skin it alive, but Susan instantly came to his defense. Usato was impressed that Susan used a powerful attack while managing not to end the guy's life, and he encouraged her to go all out. The bandits decided to avoid the magic attacks by getting in close range. Usato treated Susan like a Pokemon and instructed her to use Thunderbolt. Susan easily wrecked the bandits, but she did not like being treated like Pikachu. Aruku joined the fight, but they were interrupted by a horde of boars. This was shocking since they lived much deeper in the forest. Blur stepped in to push some of them back. Usato took a hit while protecting Susan and used his healing magic to brace their fall. They ended up falling through some trees and into a river, but Susan was in bad shape. Usato realized this was the same river he jumped into before and remembered there was a waterfall ahead. He told Susan to take a deep breath and blacked out. Out of the river, Susan saw Usato was not waking up, so she vowed to get him to safety, planning to repay her debt for him saving her. But Usato revealed he just woke up and was fine. He was only a little embarrassed now, but so was she. He explained he was just taking a break after pulling her out of the water, but everything was fine now. He healed her up while she apologized, but he explained he would not want to be stranded with anyone else other than her. He then explained that Rose left them in this forest before, and it was filled with monsters that made those boars look like pets. A check of their inventory revealed they did not even have enough food to last one night. Susan thought they should prioritize escaping the forest if it was really as dangerous as he said, but Usato pointed out it was going to get dark soon. It might also rain, so they needed to find a spot to camp for the night. He said they could sleep on a tree branch like he did before, but Susan revealed she had never climbed a tree. She always wanted to, but she was never allowed to. Usato wondered if she was raised by strict parents and decided they could just take shelter from the rain in a little cave. He recommended she get out of her wet clothes, but she made him promise not to peek. Afterwards, Susan used her lightning ability to catch some fish. She then used it to start a fire, and Usato could not have been happier to have her around. Susan awkwardly sat away from Usato and noticed he was even more ripped than before. Just then, venom monkeys appeared. Usato only read about them, and this was his first time seeing them in person. Susan thought one of the babies was cute, and Usato explained they were not aggressive. He warned her not to touch them, though, as they were venomous, but Susan was already petting away. She had accepted that this was the price to pay for enjoying its cuteness, but the little monkey bit her. Susan confidently pointed out she was right since there was nothing to fear, but she collapsed. At the castle, Corin's familiar informed the king that Susan and Usato had gone missing. The king was not going to tell Kazuki, but Celia made him. The king explained the search team would be ready tomorrow, but Kazuki was not satisfied with that. He headed off to search himself, but Rose stopped him. She explained Susan and Usato were likely together, which meant there was nothing to worry about as Usato was her subordinate and would not die so easily. Back in the forest, Usato was having a way better time with Susan around, as surviving this time was a breeze. Susan did not like being talked about like she was camping equipment, but Usato actually really appreciated her being there. He decided they should take turns sleeping, so he let her go first. She refused, though, and told him to sleep since he must be tired from all the healing he had been doing. As it began to rain, Susan checked to see if Usato was sleeping yet, but he was still awake. She wondered if he ever wanted to go home, which he did, but he explained he also had a reason to stay. Susan did not hesitate to say she did not want to go back and was surprised Usato did not ask why. She wanted him to ask, but he thought he already knew. He correctly assumed it was because she liked this world better. Susan explained she felt like there was nothing left for her in their old world, her family, her friends, and even her old self. She would throw it all away to stay in this new world. She had waited her entire life for a chance to be free, and in this world, there was nothing tying her down. She would trade anything for this freedom and was surprised when Usato understood. She thought he would be disappointed by who she really was, but Usato explained he was tired of his old self as well, tired of his ordinary life and passive self. When they first arrived, Usato just did not want to hold his two friends back. However, now he was determined to protect her, Kazuki, and the people of the kingdom as a member of the rescue squad. Susan understood and proclaimed she wanted to protect the people as a hero. They made a pact to forget their old world and protect their here and now. Susan was amazed by how much her boy had grown, and Usato pointed out how she was much more relatable now. He used to think she was just a perfect girl, but she was a surprise since he had been treating her pretty casually. She did not mind, though, since she would rather be close to him than admired from afar. Things got a bit awkward, so Usato went to sleep, but Susan teased him about being flustered. She was glad they had their little chat and wished him a good night. The next morning, the pair looked for a way out of the forest but could sense a beast approaching. This beast turned out to just be Blurring, who ended up smothering Usato. Aruku was with him but also exhausted. When he recovered, Aruku explained they were searching the perimeter of the forest when Blur rushed off on his own. They chased after him and realized Blur must have picked up on Usato's scent. Just then, Blur picked up on another scent, and Usato explained this was Blur's home. He told the tragic story of what happened to Blur's parents, and everyone felt bad for the little cub. Blur was clearly ready to leave, and Susan pointed out he seemed to have made a decision. Blur must know his place now was by Usato's side. It was time to go home, and they declared they would be going where they belonged. Usato and Susan returned to the castle, where the king was glad to see they were back from the forest. Susan apologized for making them worry, but the king explained he should be the one apologizing. He did apologize for getting Usato mixed up in all of this, but Usato had gotten used to being in situations like those. He quickly realized being used to extreme situations might look bad for Rose, so he lied and said he was talking about his old world. The king was eager to hear about how his rescue squad training was going, and Usato lied again, saying it had been nothing but smooth sailing. He was shocked by Rose's face since it looked like he said exactly what she wanted him to, and he wondered if he had been conditioned by her on a psychological level. The two were dismissed, but Rose and Siglas were told to stay behind. Siglas's face was pretty grave, so Usato wondered what they were talking about. Kazuki arrived but thought Usato was behaving way too casually. He had been very worried about them, and Celia explained Kazuki was ready to dash out of the castle for them. Susan called him reckless, but Usato reminded her she was the one that got bitten by a poison monkey. He tried to share the little story, but Susan was way too embarrassed to let him. Kazuki told them how Rose assured him they would be fine in the forest, but Usato thought about how she probably really meant the woods were easy mode compared to her training. Kazuki was in awe of the confidence she had in Usato, but Usato thought he was just a pure and innocent boy for taking Rose's words at face value. He asked that he never change and declared only himself and Rose needed to be tainted. The group separated, and Celia pointed out how close they were. Kazuki assumed she meant Susan and Usato, but she explained she was talking about all of them. Kazuki looked like he was having a lot of fun with them there, and he pointed out it was because they were already friends before coming to this world. Celia would like to be one of their friends, so she asked Kazuki to not address her formally anymore. She apologized for being so forceful, but her message was received, and Kazuki agreed to just call her Celia from now on. In the castle, the king explained they had interrogated the bandits who attacked Usato's group. Minister Sergio revealed these bandits noticed far fewer monsters than normal in that area. Soon after, they were attacked by a herd of boars in the forest. This surprising information meant the monsters must be fleeing the plains for the forest. They were fleeing from something horrible. Siglas predicted it was the Demon Lord's army. Unlike their previous battle, the Demon Lord would not underestimate them again, so they would likely attack with everything at their disposal. The king had the men inform the others in charge of war to be ready, and he had a request for Rose as well. This was not something he would normally ask of the rescue squad leader, but Rose said she was prepared. She had already determined the king wanted her to find out how far the Demon Lord's army had come, and he apologized for asking for something so dangerous. Rose already knew she was the fastest person in the entire kingdom, so she agreed to go. The king had another request and asked her to return to her post as the battalion commander. Rose refused and explained she bore more guilt than he seemed to realize. The king reminded her she was the first healer ever to be appointed battalion commander and wondered why she was so hard on herself. He then realized she had not forgiven herself. She explained she had accepted the deaths of all her subordinates and the fact that no amount of healing would bring them back. The scar carved into her right eye would never let her forget them. The king tried to explain it was not her burden to bear, but she pointed out they died because she was too full of herself. This scar was her punishment and would never let her forget her sins. That was why she created the rescue squad, not to fight, but to focus on saving lives. The king pointed out the rescue squad saved many lives in the war 2 years ago, but that was not enough for Rose. The rescue squad had another purpose as well, to help her find a subordinate who would not die. The king pointed out that was not humanly possible, but Rose explained that was what all the training was for, healing magic. the determination to push one's body beyond its limits, and an iron will that would never bend in the face of an opponent. She had been searching for someone who had all three of these traits, and that person was Usato. He had survival instincts, adaptability, and the will to live. On top of all that, he kept standing up to her and would never give up. He was a cheeky brat and reminded her of the guys who were no longer with them. That was why she was determined to make him the ideal healer. Rose apologized for getting carried away with her little speech and headed for the border. That night, Usato found that Rose left a letter for him. It revealed there would not be training tomorrow, and she instead wanted him to deliver another letter. Rose told the guy she would not be there for dinner, so Usato wondered where she was. Elsewhere, the demons were building a bridge, and Amelia demanded her subordinates give their all for the demon lord. The Black Knight watched this and declared she was being way too enthusiastic. It annoyed him, but Amelia reminded him she was his commanding officer. He pointed out they were at the same level in the Second Army, but things were different now, and Amelia demanded he obey her. The Black Knight begrudgingly agreed. Amelia told Holuk the bridge would be complete in a few hours. Once it was finished, their invasion of the Linga Kingdom could finally begin. Just then, the demons found a Linga scout had appeared, but Amelia did not care. By the time this scout spread the word, it would already be too late. This lady clearly had no clue who the scout really was, as Rose launched an entire tree trunk to destroy their bridge. The tree trunk was thrown from really far away, and Amelia was furious when she realized it was Rose. This was only supposed to be a reconnaissance mission for Rose, but she was glad to have bought them some time. The next day, Usato went to deliver the letter but could not understand why people were staring at him even when he did not have blur. The old merchant offered to let him have some fruit, but he did not have time. He decided to come back later, and the creepy girl from earlier stared at him. Usato arrived to deliver the letter. Yuru tried to remember his name since her brother Olga told her about him. She eventually remembered and introduced herself. Usato was standing in the flower clinic, which was run by Olga and Yuru. Olga was examining a patient, and Usato felt a bit weird when Yuru let him take a peek. They had to be quiet as Olga was concentrating. Usato saw how intense the color of Olga's healing magic was. Its flow was also very smooth, which Usato noticed was nothing like his own. Olga fixed the kid right up, but the kid wondered who the weirdos watching them were. Afterwards, Yuru wondered how everyone in the rescue squad was doing. Usato explained they were all still walking around with ugly bad guy faces. He remembered hearing she was part of the rescue squad, but she explained that, unlike him, she was not able to keep up with the training. Reading the letter clearly bothered Olga, but he kept it a secret. Yuru then explained that Rose put everything into training her and her brother when they first joined the squad. They were really excited about it, but it did not work out. Not only did Yuru struggle to keep up, she also became really afraid of Rose. Rose seemed desperate back then, but Olga pointed out she seemed much happier now. Usato had a pretty jaded view of Rose, though, and thought she was just happy because she had a new punching bag. Just then, Olga was informed that someone fell off a roof while trying to fix it. 2 others were injured as well, so he asked Usato to come with them. When they arrived, Usato wanted to hear Olga's plan, but the doctor was exhausted. They eventually started healing, but Usato thought about how, besides himself, he had only ever healed Olga and Susan. Their injuries were not even that bad, but he realized if war really broke out, he would most likely have to treat injuries even more severe than what he faced now. Even worse, he would have to do it mid-battle. Olga reminded Usato to remain calm and explained that who he treated or where he treated them did not matter. Usato had the power to heal them, so Olga told him he just needed to believe he could do it. These words reminded Usato that even Rose believed in him, so he started believing in himself as well. This calmed him down a great deal, and he was able to heal the idiot that fell off the roof. Afterwards, the siblings complimented him on a job well done, and Olga even asked him to stop by sometime to lend a hand. Usato agreed and headed home. Yuru thought Olga looked pretty cool when giving Usato advice, but Olga got really serious. The letter revealed the Demon Lord's army was close, and they had been summoned to war. Usato did not have any war experience, so he must rely on absolute confidence in his own abilities. Olga was confident Rose knew what she was doing, but he declared he would do everything he could, too. War was starting, but Olga assured his sister everything would be okay. Usato went to collect his fruit but wondered if a girl was lost when she stopped him. This strange girl said Usato was the only one who could see it, and that was why this was a future he could change. He had no clue what this little chick was talking about, but his confusion turned to shock when her eye began to glow. Usato then saw shocking images of war. What was even more horrifying was that he saw the Dark Knight kill his friends. His heart beat rapidly, and he was so horrified he could barely move. The girl explained she had just done him a great favor, and he now had the duty to repay her. Usato still could not believe what he just saw, and the mysterious little girl just ran off. He chased after her, determined to question her about why he saw the death of his friends. The girl watched him nearby and thought about how Usato was the only one that could change the future. He questioned a guard if he had seen the little fox girl, but he had not. Rose arrived to scare the guy away, so Usato pitied him for being terrified by her. He could understand him, though, as Rose manhandled him. She wanted to hear more about how scary she was, but he managed to change the conversation to where she had been. Rose revealed she destroyed a bridge the demon army was trying to make while scouting. Usato had a serious smart mouth as he pointed out she did a lot more than just scouting, but this just got him manhandled again. Rose explained she had seen the fox girl before, she appeared there 2 years ago. The fox girl was only 12 years old but somehow managed to evade bandits and kidnappers to arrive at the capital. Demi-humans like her were extremely valuable to bandits since they were prized for their physical appearance. More importantly, though, some even had an aptitude for rare magic. Usato wondered if this rare magic was able to show people visions of the future they hoped never happened. Rose revealed there were rumors of beastmen who could use magic called precognition. They were extremely rare, and even if they existed, they would be well guarded back in the beast lands. Rose prodded further about why he wanted to know, but Usato pretended he was just wondering about the beast people since he read about them in a book. That night, the king thanked Rose for buying them some time, but she pointed out the demon army would likely be building another bridge soon. It would only take a couple of days to finish, so the king decided to inform the soldiers and citizens about the invasion. He would do it tomorrow, but he wanted to speak with Susan and Kazuki before the night was over. On their way to see the king, Usato's friends ran into Celia. Kazuki had a pretty awkward interaction with her, and after exchanging pleasantries, they parted ways. Susan wondered what happened between them, but Kazuki said it was nothing. Elsewhere, Usato found he could not fall asleep. He could not stop thinking about the vision and how, if it was the future, there was nothing he could do about it. However, he remembered the fox girl told him he was actually the only one that could change this future. Just then, he spotted something outside, and it turned out to be Kazuki. The two talked about how much they had been training. Kazuki revealed they just spoke with the king. They were told the battle with the Demon Lord's army would soon begin, but they both already knew that. However, when Kazuki pictured himself fighting, he could not fall asleep. He admitted he ran away from the castle to come here and revealed he was scared to fight. It was not just now, he was even scared when he fought monsters for the first time. His legs froze up, and he only managed to fight at the last second. It was only when the fight ended that he realized just how lightly he had been taking everything. He could see things more clearly now and realized the Demon Lord's army would do everything they could to kill him. He was terrified of this but was under extreme pressure because everyone was counting on him. Usato broke the tension by telling Kazuki how cool he was. He always thought he never got scared, but he realized now that was not the case. The expectations of those around Kazuki had been an immense burden. Usato pointed out that Kazuki did not actually have to live up to those expectations and sometimes could put himself first. As for Usato, though, he confidently explained he would be going to battle. He wanted to save those who would fight the Demon Lord's army. He was, of course, scared as well, but he had already made his decision. Kazaki reminded Usato he was just dragged into this by accident and now could even die. Usato admitted he was brought by accident, but a lot had happened since then. There had been tough times, but he had also met a lot of people that showed him the way. He wanted to help them, and that included Kazuki. He pointed out that even if Kazuki did not fight, they would be friends anyway. These words turned out to be just what Kazuki needed to hear. Kazaki snapped himself out of depression and declared he would fight to protect Usato and Susan. He was not sure if he could fight as a hero, but he definitely knew he wanted to help his friends. He refused to just watch and proclaimed he would take his fear and fight in spite of it. Having his friends by his side reassured him more than anything, so they agreed to protect everyone together. Usato realized he just said a bunch of corny stuff, but Kazuki assured him it was exactly what he needed to hear. Afterwards, he hoped to forget his corny speech with some sleep, but Susan appeared to laugh at their bromance. He said he was too tired to deal with her mockery, but she went on to mock him even more. He knew she followed Kazuki because she could tell something was wrong, but she was glad to see Usato took care of it. Usato admitted there was a part of him that did not want to fight, and Susan wondered if he did not want her to fight either. He would rather she not, but he knew she had already decided to live in this world. This was true, so she left as they all had a big day tomorrow. The next day, the king made his announcement. It was only a matter of time before the Demon Lord army invasion, so he planned to intercept them in the grasslands. 2 years ago, they pushed back the Demon Lord's army, but he was sure they had gotten stronger since then. It would not be easy, but he reminded everyone they had gotten stronger as well. He pointed out they had 2 heroes now, Kazuki and Susan. They also had the help of the rescue squad, who played a critical role on the battlefield. The king concluded his speech by assuring them they would win, and everyone got hyped. Later, Kazuki went to see Celia. He apologized for coming unannounced, but she was actually glad. He confirmed they would be going into battle, so she prayed for his safety. He swore to protect the country but, more importantly, promised to come back to see her. The shocked Celia hoped he would, and the two said goodbye. Elsewhere, Yuru fawned over Blur. Usato let her pet him but warned Blur might not allow it. Yuru was certain they would be the best of friends, but she was severely mistaken as Blur slapped her hand away. He kept slapping her away, so she was glad to see a little bunny had appeared to make her feel better. This girl just could not catch a break, though, as Kakuro teamed up with Blurring to push her away. Usato had to keep Augur from crushing himself to death, and they watched as Yuru continued to try to pet Blurring. Augur revealed she was actually really nervous since it was her first time in battle. Her erratic behavior was just her way of hiding her anxiety. Usato was then called to go see Rose, but he just now realized he had never been to her room before. He feared she had decided to torture him, but he arrived to find she just wanted to talk. She wanted him to explain his role on the battlefield, so he said it was to heal the injured with her on the front lines. That was only partly correct, as the beginning of the battle would be different. The other squad members would bring the wounded back to the rear, and they would treat them there along with Augur and Yuru. There would not be many wounded on the front lines at the start, so they would just be sitting ducks there. Furthermore, Rose told him not to heal the wrong people on the front lines. He thought she meant not to heal the enemy, but she called him an idiot. That was not what she meant. There would be people who were injured but still fighting. He should not try to heal these people since he would just get in their way. It would be up to him to use his judgment to decide who to heal at a moment's notice. He completely understood. Rose finally gave him his rescue squad uniform. It was designed to help them stand out on the battlefield. He could not be happier, so she told him to put it on. She was glad he put on so much muscle since he was able to fill the suit up well because of it. She manhandled him once more to explain that healers were not immortal. Once they died, it was over. The one thing he could never do on the battlefield was take his life for granted. He explained he obviously did not want to die, but this just made her call him an idiot again. Talk was cheap. She knew plenty of people that talked the way he did and died anyway. Being part of the rescue squad meant he must save himself, too, so he should not underestimate the value of his own life. She did not want to hear any self-sacrificing talk from him, where she promised to end his life before the enemy did. He heard her message loud and clear and confidently declared he would save everyone, including himself. She questioned if he could really do it, but he reminded her she was the one that told him to speak his ideals. He thought about the vision he saw and determined it did not matter if it really was the future, he knew what he must do, and that was to not let Kazuki and Susan die no matter what. Later, the heroes headed out to a camp where they would prepare for battle. It was taking a bit too long to get there for Yuru's liking, but they had to get a safe distance from the kingdom before they could fight. Usato wondered what the demons were like, so Rose explained they looked like humans but were stronger and had more mana. This was not just true for their commanding officers, even the regular soldiers were really strong. Rose wondered if he was scared, but he pointed out he knew someone way scarier. She could not believe some little smart mouth that came to this world by accident would turn out to be as strong as he was. He reminded her she put him through crazy training to get him this way and admitted at first he was just trying to outdo her. He prepared to get yelled at for his smart mouth but was surprised when it never happened. This was because Rose had gotten very serious, and she remembered her old squad. A look back to 5 years ago showed when Rose was the battalion commander of the Linga Knights. The kingdom just received a report of demon sightings in the grasslands near the darkness of Linga. The king issued an order to have guards protect merchants passing through there, but he pointed out the demons were far stronger than humans and contact should be avoided at all costs. Siglas and Rose feared the demons were planning to invade, so Siglas planned to have his troops ready just in case. Rose was in deep thought as she planned to have her battalion prepared as well, so she ignored some girl trying to get her attention. She scolded the girl named Owl, but Owl was upset since Rose could have cracked her skull open. Owl wondered how serious the demon situation was, but Rose scolded her again for eavesdropping on a top-secret meeting. Rose assured her the situation was not that big of a deal, and Owl was certain they could handle it either way. Rose reminded her to never underestimate their enemy and decided she would oversee everyone's training later. That was the last thing Owl wanted, so she tried to remind Rose she had a lot of other responsibilities to deal with. They returned home, and Rose declared it was time to get everyone back into shape. The other knights blamed Owl for bringing this torture upon them and took out their frustrations on her. Owl begged for help, but Rose just ignored her. 1 week later, more reports revealed the demons were attacking monsters in their territory, so Rose was sent to investigate. She informed her knights about this mission, explaining she was told there were 10 to 30 enemies. Owl tried to encourage the bunch, but they still blamed her for the intense week of training they just went through. She tried to point out they were stronger because of it, but this just got them more upset. Rose knew Kokuro would be able to detect monsters for them, but this mission was too dangerous, so she decided her bunny friend would have to stay home. She revealed to everyone she would be joining them on this mission, and everyone got excited since they were invincible when the commander fought with them. They would be able to fight to their fullest since Rose could just heal them whenever they got injured. Owl encouraged them to give it their best, and they finally all agreed with her. The next morning, Rose and her knights made their way through the forest. They did not find anything on the first day, so Owl explained the commander decided they would explore the west side. That area was pretty dangerous, so they would have to leave their horses there. The others wondered if they should check other areas first. Owl stated it was not necessary since she had the feeling something was on the west side. The others took a moment to think about it but happily agreed to do as she said, as they respected her as their deputy commander. It was time for them to rest, so Rose decided she would take first watch. Everyone slept, but she could tell Owl was still awake. Rose offered to knock her into unconsciousness, but Owl had something to ask her. She wanted to know why Rose chose her as deputy commander. She thought she was pretty average, and there was nothing special about her. Rose had trained everyone to be the best, but Owl pointed out she pretty much just ran errands. Rose pointed out Owl had not messed up at all, so she had no complaints. Owl explained she was always desperately doing her best and was shocked when Rose revealed that was why she would be able to hand over the title of commander to her one day. Owl freaked out because she thought the others would go crazy, and she thought about how she used to be. Owl was always stubborn and never listened to orders. She did not like that no one was able to control her, and whenever anyone complained, she would shut them up with her strength. She was famous for being a strong knight that did not listen to her superiors. Al then met Rose, but she stayed the same stubborn person. The only difference was Rose did not let her walk all over her. Rose whacked her when Al did not listen and chased her down when she tried to flee past the border. Then, when Al tried to punch her, Rose hit her so hard she lost consciousness along with all memories of the incident. Rose did not remember hitting her that hard, but Al thought she must be joking. Al explained she never wanted Rose to get the better of her. No matter how hard training was, she always wanted to succeed and hated losing. It did not seem like much to Rose, but it was a huge change for Al. She never had someone look after her to the very end without giving up. Everyone else eventually got fed up, but Rose continued to challenge her. Al thought the other knights felt the same way. Rose understood them best, which was why she was the only one that could be their commander. Rose called her a brat that did not want to leave the nest, and Al was stunned. This was how she responded to her touching speech. Rose agreed that she understood them best, which was why she should be trusted to pick their next commander. She explained she did not pick Al at random, she picked her because she never gave up and always looked forward. That mentality was the stable foundation the others stood on. As long as Al just kept being herself, the others would follow her. She seemed to finally be understanding, but Rose just wanted to knock the cheesy grin off her face. She pointed out the world was always changing, so Al would have to learn to accept that. However, the fact that she was once their commander would never change. There was no need to think about it so deeply, so Al finally understood. Rose told the others it was time to sleep, and Al was shocked to see everyone was listening. They all declared how much they trusted Al and pointed out they always listened to her when it counted. The embarrassed Al wanted the compliments to end, so she threatened to beat them all up before the demons did. The next morning, they found signs of demons hunting monsters. Coming to Linga territory just to hunt monsters did not make much sense, so they wondered if they were doing it just for fun. Al suspected there must be some other reason, but they were interrupted by a loud noise. They found some demons nearby but were discovered instantly. Rose told the others to stay back and demanded to know what the demons were doing in their territory. The demon explained he actually did not like this mission but must do it as they would benefit greatly in the future. He refused to explain further, so Rose told them to leave. If they went home quietly, she would let everything else slide. The demon was impressed with how bold she was but declared he could not allow them to live. Rose left Al in command and explained she would not be able to give orders while fighting the demon leader. The battle began, and Al declared they would show the demons the power of their teamwork. The demon tried an attack, but Rose showed her insane speed and knocked him back. He did not even have time to think as she followed that attack up quickly and eventually sent him flying. She already knew she could not land a good hit, as this demon was able to manipulate the wind in a split second. She left the rest to her knights and went after the demon leader. She battled it out with him and stopped his movement by launching giant trees at him. She shocked him with her relentless barrage of attacks, but he was not even close to being done. She continued attacking, so the demon admitted he had never seen a human with her speed. She had no interest in talking, though, and just wanted to bash his face in. The demon surrounded her with his wind blades. Rose was just as confident as ever. He thought she was stupid to risk her life by crossing the wall, but he was shocked when she began healing herself. He just now realized what her magic was, but it was too late as she landed a punch. He now knew she was a healer. Her immense physical strength and high-speed healing made her a strong melee fighter. He acknowledged her as a monster, and they introduced themselves. This guy's name was Nero. He summoned his weapon and declared he would now kill her. Rose had no fear and proclaimed she would beat him down. Back at the other fight, one knight used an ability to put a demon to sleep. Al landed an attack as well and declared they needed to show the power of Rose's personal unit. Rose was busy fighting Nero and realized his demon sword was imbued with a curse. She could not let it touch her no matter what. Just then, Nero managed to cut her face, but she landed a counterattack. He was sent back near the others, and Rose healed herself. She knew Nero was not done just yet, so she demanded he get up. Nero was impressed by her and her subordinates. They were quite skilled and easily the most troublesome group he had ever encountered. He thought true heroes no longer existed among the humans. He had changed his mind, however, as Rose and her group had become their biggest obstacle. Nero's sword began to glow with darkness, and he declared the era in which demonkind trembled before the humans would end as their lord would soon awaken. This lord was merciless, savage, and cruel, but he brought the demons blessings and victory. He shocked Rose when he released a bunch of power and stated he must defeat her group so they could awaken their lord. The fight began to turn as one of Rose's subordinates landed an attack, but she realized the demon was not affected. The demon proclaimed they were simply weapons of the demon lord, and if they lost their life, they would just take them down with them. Rose could tell she was in trouble, so she rushed to her companion but was stopped by Nero. The demon stayed true to his word and took the girl's life, horrifying everyone. Another member of Rose's group got eliminated, and it became clear these demons no longer cared about their own lives. Al tried to calm everyone down, but it was no use as another one of their comrades fell. Nero took credit for this turn in the fight, pointing out he urged his men to sacrifice themselves. Rose attacked him with rage, but Nero pointed out she had lost her composure, and he cut her eye. She tried to heal it, but Nero revealed his sword cut away mana, her wound was cursed, and she would not be able to heal it. Her troops were begging for healing as they were being destroyed in the fight. She tried to end her fight with Nero, but it was no use. She could only see out of one eye, so it affected her sense of distance. Nero moved in for an attack, and she realized it was all over. He landed a devastating attack, but Rose was shocked when she saw Al sacrifice her own life to save her. She was then horrified to see her entire unit had been eliminated. Rose felt terrible since they all believed in her, they all thought they would not die on her watch, and she would always come to their rescue. She wished Al would have just run away and blamed herself for being so weak. Nero declared the deaths of their subordinates would not be forgotten and went in to finish the fight. Just then, he was shocked when Rose stopped his blade. She began to beat him down and insulted him for what he said. The angry Rose pointed out a demon like him, who urged his own troops to sacrifice themselves, could never understand. She continued absolutely destroying Nero and explained sacrificing oneself in battle was the ultimate humiliation. She had completely taken over the fight as she pinned him to a tree, angrily stating she would now kill him. She could tell her body was about to fail but was determined to be the one that ended his life. Just then, a young Amelia appeared, worried about Nero. Rose could not understand this at all. Nero was a demon that sacrificed his own subordinates, so she could not believe there was one that wanted to save him. She tried to stop her from rescuing him, but this girl reminded her of Owl. They left, and the real Owl called out to her. The greatly injured Rose made her way to her trusty subordinate and told her to stop talking so she could heal her. Owl explained healing her would be impossible since she was cut too deep. Rose found this to be true as her healing failed, but she was determined to keep trying. Owl told her it was hopeless but stated she had no regrets. She was happy to fight by Rose's side and knew the others felt the same. Rose could not believe what she was hearing and refused to let her die. Owl used her last words to ask that Rose never change, and she died. A look around the battlefield revealed the massacre that just took place, and Rose screamed in agony. Later, Rose reported to the king that the demon lord would soon be resurrected. She stated she no longer had the right to call herself a knight because of this and would like for him to remove her as battalion commander and revoke her knighthood. Everyone was shocked, but the king did as she wished. Later, the family of one of her fallen subordinates approached her. She shamefully apologized for not being able to protect him, but they thanked her for at least bringing him back so they could see him one last time. They explained their son was a complete delinquent since he just watched anime recap videos all day long. However, when he started serving Rose, he became a changed man. Rose returned to her empty home and cried in a corner. A month later, Siglus went to visit her, and they discussed how the king came to see her earlier. Their goals were both the same as they were checking to make sure Rose had not decided to follow her troops to the afterlife. She considered it for a moment, but this just upset Siglus. She told him to calm down, though, as she was not being serious. She explained the demon's curse was only temporary, so her wounds were starting to finally heal. Siglus wondered why she had not made an effort to heal her eye, but she did not answer. However, when she was alone, Rose thought about how the scar was proof of her sin and letting her subordinates die. It was a punishment, so she never forgot what happened. She had decided to cherish her own life since Owl sacrificed herself for it. The question now was what she would do with it. She considered getting revenge and defeating as many demons as she could, but that was not the answer. She managed to calm herself down and began to have memories of everyone. She just now realized how weak she really was and wondered what her subordinates would think of her if they saw her now. She imagined Owl next to her, and Owl pointed out they would probably laugh at her. She repeated the words Rose told her by the fire and reminded her things changed. She must accept that so she could move forward. However, the fact that Rose led them would never change. They both said they should not overthink everything, and Owl was glad to see she remembered. Owl reminded her of her last words, and those were that Rose should never change. The others appeared to agree with her, and they reminded her Rose would punch them right in the face if she saw them acting the way she was. Rose realized now how foolish she had been for just focusing on their deaths. Her subordinates were not like this, they always looked straight ahead with smiles on their faces. She snapped out of her depression and vowed to never show weakness again. Her subordinates left, and she promised to be someone they could all admire. She removed her bandages and declared she knew what she must do. A massive battle against the Demon Lord would be coming soon, so she decided to create a force that saved lives. Many soldiers would be sent to their doom, but she vowed not to let them die. Her force would need at least 5 people, and 2 of them had to be healers to start with. Most importantly, though, they would need someone like herself, someone who did not just heal, but a healer who could run around the battlefield taking out threats as they went. This would be impossible for a normal person, but if she could find someone like that, then they might have a chance of fighting by her side without dying. Back to the present, Rose teared up when she revealed she was glad she found him. She pointed out he did not even know how precious his own life was, not just any healer could get as strong as he had by just training. She asked him to wonder what the world would be like if it had more healers like herself, but he just used his smart mouth to say the world would be destroyed. She explained she came up with the technique to train herself beyond her limits by using healing magic. It was incredibly difficult, and he and herself were the only 2 people that could do it. He had all the traits she ever wanted in a healer, and she was sure he would not die. He took in all the compliments, but she took one look at his cheesy grin and was disgusted by it. Elsewhere, Amelia was told the bridge had been completed. The Demon Knight was glad to hear that, and she reminded him he could go as wild as he wanted when the battle started. This guy was confident as he warned the battle might end in an instant since they were just up against humans. Amelia reminded him not to underestimate them as they had the ones known as kidnappers. These kidnappers stole the wounded, but the knight was not worried about them, he just thought they ran away all the time. But Amelia pointed out they were actually monsters. The knight was glad to hear they might be able to make things interesting, he did not care what they were as long as they made him feel alive. Sometime later, the Linga army finished setting up camp. Usato woke up and thought about how it was finally time for battle. Susan had woken up as well, and she wondered what he thought about her amazing armor. He was not really too sure what to say, but she helped him out and told him how pretty it was. That was not all, though, as it also boosted her lightning magic and did not hinder her movement at all. He assumed she valued armor over cute things, but that was not true as she revealed she grew cacti back home. He did not consider cacti to be cute, but she took offense to that. He tried to get her to calm down, but it was no use, so Kazuki had to be the one to save him. She refused to leave until she made him hers, but Kazuki explained Siglus wanted to see them. Siglus explained there was only a half hour before the Demon Lord's army arrived. The plan was to land the preemptive strike with a barrage of magic, and then Susan and Kazuki would engage the enemy together with the other knights. Their mission would be to carve open a path to the enemy general, however, if they were able to, they were to defeat the general. The 2 waited for their enemy at the border of their base, and Kazuki wondered if Susan was worried about Usato. She was impressed at how well he could read people and revealed she was worried. She also felt empowered, though, because he accepted her for who she was now. Kazuki, a gossip, would like to know more about this revelation, but she would rather tell him when they returned to the kingdom safely. Just then, the two of them sensed something, and the demon army appeared. The Linga army prepared their magic, and so did the heroes. Everyone fired their spells at the army, but they were shocked when the demons disappeared. They determined it was illusion magic and were shocked to find the army approaching from a different direction. Nearby, Rose told her men to head out onto the battlefield. Their mission was to bring back anyone that was injured, but most importantly, they must make it back alive. As for Orga and Yuru, they would be stationed in a tent, and Aruku would act as their guard. Rose and Usato would head out to the battlefield after a while, but in the meantime, they would heal the wounded at the base. He was worried about his friends, but Yuru reminded him he had to think of himself, especially since he would eventually be going to the battlefield as well. Just then, Tong already brought the first injured, and they must quickly begin healing. Usato was really nervous at first when he saw how bad the damage was, but he eventually managed to start healing. His patient was frantic and explained a giant snake blew her away. He wondered if it had something to do with the snake he fought but reminded himself to focus on healing. On the battlefield, the snake did serious damage to the Linga army. The Black Knight was disappointed to see the humans were not putting up much of a fight but was then stabbed from behind. The soldier declared victory but was shocked when he was the one being stabbed next. He could not understand how this could be possible, and the Black Knight simply pointed out how weak the humans were. The poor guy wondered what kind of monster this knight was, but he was not even sure how to answer. The guy tried to get away so he could tell the others, but the knight had grown tired of him. He prepared to take his life but got distracted. Golem explained it was his special stinky water, and he ran off with the injured soldier. The knight noticed this was one of the kidnappers and laughed as he realized they would make things much more fun. He considered going after him but got distracted by something more interesting. Golem returned with the kid, and the others rushed to heal him. Rose determined it was time for them to head out, and Usato was ready. She told the others they would be leaving and reminded the guard to protect them with his life. As they left, Rose told him about an enemy she heard about. He wore black armor and used a peculiar kind of magic. She told him to be careful, and he was reminded of the Black Knight in his vision. He froze up, so she wondered if he would be able to take someone's life. He pointed out his job was to save lives, but she considered him a fool for saying that in the face of death. She had a technique for cases just like this one and told him something they did not get to hear. Whatever she said worked, as he was now ready for battle, and the two split up. He got his first look at the battlefield, and it was not pretty as there were casualties everywhere. He managed to rescue someone from being eliminated but must quickly dodge an attack soon after. Rose made her presence known as well as she rescued someone. He told the guy he saved that he healed him while carrying him, so he should be ready to fight again after getting a little rest. Elsewhere, Susan amazed the other troops with her powerful magic and told them to take any injured back to base. She was clearly bothered by all the casualties but put up a strong front for Kazuki. He warned there was a powerful snake doing serious damage, and she reminded him they must make a path to the enemy general. They determined they must take down the snake, but they were shocked when the Black Knight confronted them. The heroes had no clue who this monstrous demon was, but they could tell he was unlike any of the soldiers they fought before. She tried to tell the troops to stay back, but it was too late as they sent their spears through the night. The Dark Knight did not seem bothered at all, and Susan wondered if he did not feel any pain. He was surprisingly able to morph his body and push them away, so she told the troops to fall back. It was too late, however, as the troops somehow took serious damage. She tried to stop Kazuki from attacking next, and the knight was impressed to see his light magic. She explained she stopped his attack because she determined the knight's magic reflected attacks back to the attacker. Her assumption ended up being correct as Kazuki took damage under his armor. The knight's magic reflected all damage dealt to its armor right back to his opponents, and he was impressed since no one had ever figured it out this quickly. The hero seemed pretty powerful, so he would like for them to struggle a bit before he took their lives. Nearby, Usato ran through the battlefield, but he once again saw the vision. It caused him serious pain, and even his healing magic did not stop it. He wondered if this meant something bad happened to his friends, but he must quickly start running again. He ended up in a bad spot but was rescued by the guy he healed earlier. The kid told him where the heroes were, so he rushed to them and hoped they were still alive. Back with the heroes, the Black Knight had his troops fight the weaklings, and Susan declared they must defeat him. Kazuki pointed out there was nothing they could do since he was able to reflect all attacks. She told him her plan, but he thought it was too dangerous. He was clearly terrified, but she reminded him Usato could always just heal them. The fight began, and she started off by obstructing the knight's vision. The two heroes followed up with attacks, hoping he would not be able to reflect damage he could not see. This was not the case, though, as they ended up getting hurt from their attacks. She thought they failed but realized the attack she landed on his back was not reflected. He thought she was crazy when she wanted to try again, but he realized she had figured something out. The two made their approach again, but this time she powered herself up to increase her speed. He had an idea of what she was planning, so he used his light magic to blind the knight. The knight thought they were foolish for playing tricks but was shocked when she stabbed him through the back. She had figured out he could not reflect attacks he could not perceive, and he could not even say the word reflect now, so she determined he could finish him off. He moved in for the final blow, but the knight revealed he was just pretending. He activated his reflect ability, and she took serious damage. He was in even worse shape, though, as the knight completely pierced his body. The knight knew exactly what she was thinking and explained she was all wrong. His ability had nothing to do with his vision or perception, he could simply decide what attacks to reflect. What was even more crazy was he purposely did not reflect the attack on his back so he could confuse her. He declared no one had ever injured him and no one ever would. She began to panic as the situation became more hopeless. A look back to a simpler time showed Kazuki and Susan complimenting each other for successfully improving the school regulations. This was the moment just before she found him without an umbrella. She thought about how she was really lucky to meet him that day. She was really happy about being summoned to a new world and could not wait to start over as her new self. He was completely different, though, since he knew exactly what he needed to do to live in this new world. More important than anything, though, she was extremely happy he accepted who she really was, not the fake Susan from before. She always believed everything would be fine as long as she had him and Usato by her side. Unfortunately, that was not the case. She collapsed before the Black Knight. The other demon celebrated this achievement, and he prepared to end her life for good. He commended her for making it fun and prepared to slice her head off. Just then, Usato declared the knight would not do such a thing on his watch and unleashed a powerful punch onto his face. He was horrified, though, when he realized he did not make it in time to save his friends. Things started looking up when he began to heal them, but the Black Knight was furious. She demanded to know who attacked her, and Susan noticed the Black Knight was actually a girl. She attacked the heroes, but he ran off with his friends. He just managed to avoid an attack from a demon, and she followed up with an attack of her own. She was all healed up now, and he should be fully healed soon. She had something urgent to tell him, but they were interrupted by the knight before she could get to them. She managed to tell him everything she knew about the knight's armor. It was most likely made of mana and could reflect any attack back to the attacker. His attack somehow worked against it, though, so she wondered what kind of attack it was. They were interrupted again by the knight, who wanted revenge. He just thought about how he really did not want to fight, he wanted to heal the other soldiers, though, so he did not really have a choice. She became worried as he prepared to fight, but he just told her to watch over him. He covered himself in healing magic and quickly learned the knight's armor could morph. He decided to attack anyway since, even if his attacks were reflected, he could always just heal himself. He realized his attacks were not being reflected at all and wondered if she was just out of mana. The knight was even surprised by this, so he decided to go in for a two-punch combo. The furious knight demanded he just die already, but he kept fighting back. He regained consciousness, and she told him he saved their lives. Just then, the knight celebrated as she pierced right through his hand, but everyone was shocked when it became clear her terrifying attacks had no effect on him. He could not understand what was going on, as he was constantly in a healing state. Wanting to continuously heal his wounds and fatigue made sense, but at this rate, he was healing his enemy with every punch. Just then, she realized the knight's weakness must be healing magic. He managed to surprise her and land his most powerful punch yet. Reflect was not working because his fists were enveloped in healing magic. The injuries he was inflicting were immediately being healed, so the damage she was taking was purely from the power of his fists. His attacks were not actually leaving any wounds, they were just extremely painful. She thought this style of fighting was the craziest she had ever seen and definitely the wrong way to use healing magic. The knight could not believe she was losing like this, so she released a massive amount of power that pushed him all the way back to his friends. They were still worried about him, but he assured them he would finish the fight right now. She was preparing some kind of massive attack, but he could not care less. He knew what he must do, make sure she could not hurt anyone anymore. He powered himself up with his healing magic, and the two opponents charged at each other. They came to an abrupt stop as their powers collided, struggling to see who would come out on top. He pushed himself beyond all limits, eventually overpowering her and landing the most powerful punch ever seen. The war around them stopped as everyone watched the insane fight. His attack emanated a ton of healing magic and removed her armor completely. He was victorious and declared this attack shall be known as the ultimate healing punch. He immediately got to healing the other soldiers, and they credited him for being the reason all the other demons fled. It was all because he defeated their Black Knight. She pointed out there would have been far more casualties if he had not won the fight. She told the soldier to get out of there as she wanted to learn more about this ultimate healing punch technique he came up with. He explained it was actually just a normal punch imbued with healing magic, and Rose taught him how to use it. A look back showed this was the secret thing she told him about. The idea was to cover his punch in healing magic so the attacks did not eliminate the opponent. The attacks would heal the enemy as he punched them until he eventually knocked them out. They were not injured, but they felt the pain and the impact. This way, he could immobilize an enemy without hurting them. He thought it was pretty awesome, and she realized he was really starting to fall under her influence. She thanked him for coming for them, and he explained he was just helping his friends. The giant snake had moved to the front lines, so she decided this was where they would have to fight next. He planned to go with them, but the soldier wanted to know what happened. Rose was surprised to hear he already took care of everything and commended him for saving his friends, defeating the knight, and dealing a massive blow to the enemy's morale. The battlefield was under control now, and they would just get in the soldiers' way if they kept running around, so she decided they should head back to camp. He informed his friends, and they promised to treasure their lives that he worked so hard to save. They said their goodbyes for now, and he ran off. Under her breath, she commended him for managing to stay alive, but she pretended like she did not say anything. At the enemy camp, Amelia was shocked to hear the Black Knight was completely and utterly defeated. She refused to believe someone overcame her magic and was even more startled when she learned it was someone from the rescue team. She assumed it was Rose but was told it was someone else. She could not believe there was another person like her and decided they must withdraw. She considered going out to fight herself, but that would leave their base vulnerable, and the enemy still had Siglus on their side. Holok prepared to go get their giant snake, but he was stunned when he saw the heroes had beat him to it. They refused to let him down and prepared to eliminate it. Back at camp, he was hard at work healing soldiers but had to tell one of the meatheads he was not messing around. Everyone was busy healing, and they were all amazed when they saw the massive attack by the heroes. His friends were exhausted but managed to defeat the giant snake, and everyone celebrated. Rose informed him the enemy was retreating, and he wondered if they were going to chase after them. She called him an idiot since the demons outnumbered them by a lot. Their focus now was to keep casualties down while they prepared for the next attack. She declared they won this battle because he managed to save the heroes. He was humble as always since he was sure she would have come if he did not, but this was not the case. She revealed the heroes would have died, and he most definitely saved them. They might have even lost the entire battle, so she finally complimented him on a job well done as a member of the rescue squad. He took it all in as he had memories of all the hard work he put in up to this point. He had been through a whole lot. He began to tear up, he could not even understand why, and she realized he was more of a kid than she thought. He admitted he was actually really scared on the battlefield. The demons were terrifying, and he saw a lot of people lose their lives. However, he was still glad to have met her since that had allowed him to save a lot of people. She explained she once knew people that said the same type of things, but they only existed in her memories now. He was still there, so she finally complimented him on doing a good job coming back to her alive. He happily took her praise but was exhausted and passed out. She was proud of him for hanging in there for this long, so she allowed him to get some much-needed rest. Sometime later, he explained he was summoned to the castle after returning from the war. He was really nervous at first but was pretty happy since he received the first reward he had ever gotten in his entire life. Blur was too busy eating to listen to what he was saying, and he wondered if the little bear had gained some weight. Golem arrived to tell him he had been summoned to the castle again but warned him to be careful when going through town. He wondered why, but Golem did not say. He found out for himself soon after, though, as a crowd of townspeople formed around him. He was overwhelmed by all the attention, so he did not notice the mysterious girl was nearby. He got away from the crowd, and the guard thanked him for saving his comrades. He pointed out everyone was just doing their part in the war, and the soldiers also protected him. The kid was glad to hear he would not mind having him as his bodyguard one day, and his friend pointed out how he was strong enough to join the royal knights. He went to speak with the king, who asked him to lend them his strength. He of course agreed, so Siglas revealed they needed his help to interrogate the Black Knight. He wondered if she had been violent to others, but they revealed she surprisingly did not hold much loyalty to the Demon Lord's army. She had been answering their questions willingly, but they had not been able to get the most critical information from her. They wanted to know the magic system of the commanding officers and their powers. She had agreed to answer these questions but only if she got to see him first. Susan escorted him to go see her and promised to protect him if she tried anything. He was quick to point out she already lost to her before, so she vowed to at the very least be a meat shield for him. He could not even understand how he defeated her, but Siglas knew why. She had an affinity for black magic, but it seemed to have been cancelled out by his healing magic. He realized their magic cancelled each other out and began to panic as he realized something else. His healing magic being cancelled out meant he was not healing her, and he wondered if she had received medical attention. She had not, because she had been wearing her armor since she regained consciousness. He rushed to see her. He knew she must be hurt since she was just taking all his punches directly without any of the healing. His fists could shatter boulders, so he knew her wounds must be bad. She did not care and just accepted she would live in pain. She broke the tension and pointed out she must be some kind of masochist, but he was not amused. She was not even sure about why she wanted to see him and assumed it was because she wanted to meet the person that messed her up so badly. He made Siglas let him into the cell and asked for her hand. She assumed he wanted to torture her, but he just demanded she listen to him. He began healing her, but she panicked as it also began to remove her armor. He told her to just let him heal her, and she calmed down as she also realized healing felt nice. He would like his hand back, but she wanted to hold on for a little longer as she had never felt such a nice feeling. Tears poured down her face, so he determined he could not say no. Afterwards, Rose decided she would personally train him again since the Demon Lord's army would be attacking again. There were some things she wanted him to learn so he could be prepared, and he stated he did want to level up his healing magic. He still could not heal complicated things like illnesses, but he was disappointed to hear that was too far out of his reach right now. His physical abilities were at an acceptable level, so they would not train that either. He wondered what they would be doing then and was shocked when she simply said she would be punching him. She was going to punch him faster than he could react, and his job would be to simply dodge. She kept him from getting away and pointed out he relied too much on his healing magic. It would not work on wounds made by weapons that cursed the wound, so he needed to learn to dodge. He got upset about her wanting to punch her subordinate, but she was just glad to see him so energized. She launched him into the sky, but he managed to land safely. She told him not to block her next attack, and she blasted him right in the stomach. Sometime later, he woke up and determined all that must have been a nightmare. It was not, though, as she was just waiting for him to regain consciousness and pointed out he should be happy since she was holding back before. He thanked her, and they started training again. 3 training days passed, and he complained about how horrible it had been. Whenever he got close to dodging her attacks, she threw punches even faster. He vented his frustrations to the Black Knight, but she just wondered what he was doing there. He did not have training today and just wondered what she would do now. She pointed out she was in prison and became shy right when she was about to ask him something. He left. We see Rose had gone to meet with the king, who had 2 requests for her. He went to see Kazuki, who was doing some interesting-looking training. Celia explained he decided he needed to become stronger. He saw how much she admired him while he trained and became upset when he compared it to how horrible his training was. She explained they were able to get the information they wanted from her, it was all thanks to him, and the king's trust in him only continued to grow. He trusted him a lot as well, as he began to point out he would be dead if it was not for him. He stopped himself, though, since he did not want to worry her, and he went back to training. He eventually left, but she demanded to know what he was going to say. On his way home, he wondered what would happen to her and feared they might want to end her life. Back in the cell, she wondered what he was thinking when he came to see her. She heard footsteps and eagerly wondered if it was him. It turned out to be Rose, and she revealed the king sent her. She explained she had 2 options. The first was to spend the rest of her life in the prison cell. She began to tell her the second, but she assumed they wanted to end her life. Rose revealed she was not that lucky and opened the cell. She began to panic, and Rose explained the second option was to let her take her under her wing. She thought the idea was crazy, but she showed her what crazy really was as she karate chopped her in the head. She then put a magic tool on her that sealed mana. She declared watching over her in prison would be a waste of the kingdom's resources, so the only way to go was to turn her into an upright demon. She thought she had 2 options, but she had already made the choice for her. She feared what she was planning to do, and she knocked her out. Back home, he ran with Blur to help him get back in shape. Rose gave him a good kick since he was supposed to be taking the day off, and he was shocked to see she had her with her. He demanded to know what was going on, so she explained she was going to reform her as an errand runner for the rescue team. Her magic was sealed, and she would be supervising her training, so there was nothing to worry about. She would do to her what she did to him, so he pitied the poor demon when she woke up. That night, he reported to Rose. The knight did a lot of complaining but calmed down with a bath and went to bed. She then revealed the king wanted to ally with other countries to stand against the demon lord's army. The king needed messengers to deliver missives to these countries, and he had chosen Susan, Kazuki, and him. He could not believe the king would choose him, and she pointed out he had a lot of trust in him. The fate of the entire kingdom depended on this mission, and she agreed with the king he would be able to complete it. The next day, some fangirls wished him luck and ran off. A vendor apologized for everyone swarming him the other day, but he said it was fine. He then thought about how nice all the townspeople were and reminded himself his mission would help protect them. She called it fate when she found him, but he pointed out it was pretty common to see people at this market. Just then, he spotted the mysterious fox girl and rushed after her. He captured her and demanded they talk, but he was shocked when she said she had been waiting for him. It was time for him to pay her back, and she demanded he save her mother. He was stunned by what she just said, but Susan was more concerned with how adorable she was. He scolded her, so she reminded him he still needed to put her down. She introduced herself as a Marco and insisted they go somewhere to talk. Elsewhere, the knight was exhausted from going through her training. The other guys mocked her for being so slow, but she did not want to be compared to ogres like them. These stand-up guys were insulted and demanded respect as humans as they outran her. She collapsed and began to give up, but she appeared to motivate her. He had brought home the fox girl, and Susan could not stop gushing over her. He wondered if she would be a problem for her, but she was fine with her because she knew the hero would keep her secret. He was surprised to hear she knew she was a hero, but that was not all she knew. She also knew a lot about him and his healing magic. He wanted to know why she showed him the vision where his friends met their demise, but she was shocked as this was the first time she was hearing about this. She revealed she had to show him, otherwise, the entire country would have been destroyed. She explained her magic allowed her to see the future. She was in search of a healer, and that was why she left the Beast Lands. They were really far away, but she had no choice as she wanted to save her mother. Only humans could use healing magic, but no matter where she looked, she could not find the healer. He pointed out Augur and Yuru were both healers, but she pointed out they could not fight. Rose was the only other person to match what she was looking for, but she was really scary, and she already had a vision of her declining her request. She could tell right away he would come with her, so that was why she showed him the future. She pleaded with him to come to the Beast Lands to save her mother, but she explained right now he was really important to this country. Just then, he shocked everyone as he thought there might be a way for him to help. They had a mission to deliver letters to other countries, and there may be a way where he could stop by the Beast Lands to help out. He went to get permission and told her to scream if she tried to do something weird. When he told her about the fox girl, she demanded they must immediately tell the king. Future seers like her were very valuable to the beastmen, so if they found out they were harboring one, they might attack them. This was not all bad, though, since this meant his request to go there might be granted because of it. When he returned, she was instantly able to see the future and already knew they would have to wait for the king to decide. She got frustrated to see them have such a deep connection they did not even need words to communicate, but he just thought she was being a weirdo as usual. She headed home but thanked him first. He thanked her since she was the reason he was able to save his friends. That night, one of the guys got insulted when she did not want to eat his food. She was not interested in being friendly, but he arrived to tell her to eat, too. She realized this living hell was never going to end, so she had to be thrown back in jail. Just then, he gave her a diary just like he had and recommended she try writing everything in it, explaining it would make her feel better. She began to warm up a bit and finally began to eat. From then on, she started documenting everything. The training was brutal. On the day she ran with him, she was shocked to see he never ran out of breath. To her, he was an inhuman human. One day, she heard something coming from the forest and skipped training to see what it was. It turned out to be him. He was getting destroyed by her, but she was shocked to see he was still alive after taking a beating. She yelled at him to dodge better, and he yelled back he could not dodge when she changed trajectory so much. The two argued a whole bunch, but she told him to save all the talking for when he could finally avoid her punches. He had only been able to master taking the punches, so they needed to keep working until he dodged them. She was shocked, and she instantly disappeared, but she was even more in awe when he was able to dodge her attack. He celebrated too early, though, and got rocked by a kick. He did manage to dodge the first attack, so she allowed him to finally go back to his normal training. She was still in shock, so she told her to continue training under his watch. He told her about how much of a monster she was, but she thought it was pretty obvious he was a bit of a monster himself. He realized he might be asking a little late but finally told her to give him her name. She revealed it was Felm but explained not many people had called her that. Just then, Blur arrived, ready for some exercise, but she was upset she told him her name for the first time and he did not even try to use it. He was already busy running with his buddy, so she took off as she refused to lose to him. That night, he explained she exhausted herself by running full speed while not thinking of the consequences. He healed her up, though, so she could fall asleep. The guys wondered what he did to the poor demon girl, but he just said he ran like normal. They pointed out his normal was not really normal for a human, but he got furious and pointed out he was far more human than even the captain. The guys prepared to fight, but they were stopped by a very angry her. He healed himself, and they all apologized to her. Later, she woke up hungry and overheard he would speak with the king the next morning about delivering the letters. The next morning, he brought her with him to speak with the king. King Lloyd immediately thanked the little fox girl since she helped save the kingdom from falling to the demon lord's army. He would like to repay her for what she did, so he allowed him to visit the beast lands with her. He thanked the king, and it was clear she was very grateful. Wedgie gave him the details and revealed he would be going to 4 different countries. The first 3 would be to deliver letters, and the last would be to the beast lands. She, Kazuki, and Susan would go with them to the first country, but it would just be him and her after that. The two of them would be accompanied by 2 knights, and he was allowed to choose them. Aruku was shocked to hear he chose him and reminded him he was clumsy. He explained he could only protect one thing at a time, which was why he guarded the gates. He assumed he was declining the request, but he decided he could leave the job of protecting the gates to one of his comrades. He agreed to go and swore to protect him and her with his life. As for the other knight, he had already chosen, and he pointed in a direction. Everyone was surprised, though, and they just saw the happy-go-lucky Blur playing with a butterfly. Elsewhere, she was running for her life as she was being chased by her. She sent her flying because she was furious. She tried to run away. She thought she might be trying to run back to the demon lord to inform him about the letters he was delivering, but ruled that out since she was going in the opposite direction. She then revealed her real intentions as she wondered why she was not more worried about him going so far away. She explained she was not worried at all because he was a healer who was nearly as good as she was. He was not going to die so easily. But she was shocked to see she seemed to be worried about him. She assumed she was trying to join him on his journey, but she denied it as much as she could. She tried to just say she was getting tired of all the training, but she decided to show her what tired really looked like and instructed her to run back to the house. He informed her he would be leaving the next day and assumed she would miss him. She gave him a good kick and revealed it was not fair he got to escape from this hellish training. She let out more of her frustration and ran off. She arrived to inform him this journey was going to be nothing like what he had experienced before. The truth was that healing magic was looked down upon in most places. If he ever encountered someone with this mindset, she wanted him to beat them up. He was not surprised she wanted him to resort to violence, and she pointed out it was the best way to set those kind of people straight. She then got serious to point out this journey would change him for better or worse. She believed in him, though, and expected great things. That was great for him to hear, and he admitted to himself he trusted her a lot. He reiterated how he wanted to continue to live in this world together with her and the people of the kingdom. He went to say goodbye to the siblings, and she said goodbye to her human caretaker. The hero said goodbye to the princess, and Celia stated just how much she believed in them. They all set off on their journey, and he wondered what kind of adventures awaited them. They then got a glimpse into what they would encounter as they saw a whole host of new and interesting characters. Nearby, she was exhausted, and she wondered where she was taking her. She watched as the group left, and he spotted her. She told her to quit wasting time, and they got back to training. His friends got his attention, and he refocused on the journey ahead. He had finally gotten used to living in this world, and now he was ready to go on this grand adventure, brimming with mystery and excitement. That's the end of the story. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this.